Welcome one, welcome all to episode 213 of the Xbox Expansion Pass, recorded on Saturday, January 27th, 2024. I am your host, Luke Lohr, the InsipidGhost, joined by my co-host, the intrepid Captain Logun. And in today's episode, we are discussing the industry-wide continuance of layoffs, including 1,900 at Microsoft. Separately, Palworld has proven to be the latest gaming phenomenon, and more signs are emerging that Xbox is set to exit the physical games market. As always, we hope you enjoy the show. Logan, we like to start the show by offering words of kindness, those who have made our gaming weeks better. But first, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing good, man. Health-wise, I'm at like 95%. I'm feeling better, but it's like I still have like this lingering cough that's not really doing anything. It's just there. So I'm glad for that. But I don't know, man. I'm trying to get back on the old gaming horse. You know, been playing more games recently this week, and not just laying in bed and watching The Last of Us, trying to sympathize with the zombies. And overall, just a real interesting week. You mentioned the layoffs, and we'll get into that, but I was happy to hear that I checked in with all my friends, both at Riot and Blizzard, and thankfully all of them are safe. I was really happy about that. It was just nice to kind of check in with them. Some I haven't talked to in a while, but it was nice to know that at least the folks that I am personally invested in are still not having to worry about that kind of layoff issue right now.
Good.
How are you doing?
I'm good. I had a tweaked back and neck the past week that's been frustrating, and I've not been taking care of myself well, and so trying to restart that in a proper setting. January has been a month of zero routine at work. Every week has had an interruption, a break, a something, and so when that happens, I find it harder to take care of myself just as a result of the breaks in routine. So anxious to get back there for sure. But I am looking forward to talking this week. It's been a very weird juxtaposition of celebrations in the gaming space and devastating news, and I'm it's ripe for controversy and conversation for sure. But I do want to give a shout out as my words of kindness this week to one Kyle Stevenson over at the Trophy Room. Kyle made a really dumb comment, and I'm just worried for him. He thinks that Joel from The Last of Us could beat Leon Kennedy in a fight. Leon Kennedy, of course, from Resident Evil. And it's just such a silly mistake. And I just feel so bad for him. So I just wanted to give him some love and show him some support. Because Leon Kennedy is military trained and Joel is cranky and bad at golf.
Yes.
What are we doing here?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to, like, dealing with zombie apocalypse is a real test. Like, you can tell how a person responds to that. And while at the end of the day, regardless of zombies, humans are still the most dangerous thing out there.
It's almost like they're the Walking Dead.
Yeah, Leon Kennedy. It's funny that this is coming up. Leon Kennedy is by far the stronger of the two. And I think it's brave that Kyle is willing to voice that opposition to that. But Leon is, like, I'm not saying this just because Resident Evil 2 is on Game Pass, although it is, and you should probably check it out.
It's so good.
But so good. Leon Kennedy, also more attractive too. Arguably.
Devastatingly handsome.
Very
dreamy
handsome.
eyes. Dreamy eyes.
Oh God, dreamy eyes.
And can I say, Resident Evil 4? Everybody should be playing that one. That Leon Kennedy is a fierce warrior.
That cast is ridiculously handsome and attractive.
Absurd.
It's absurd. Bond stuff that
we don't need to talk about it. We don't need to talk about it.
It would put Overwatch to shame.
It's not worth it. Who are your words of kindness as I quickly change the subject away?
Latif, I think is how you pronounce it. Latif Nasser. Who I've seen this thread going around, and I finally decided to dive into it on Twitter after you had quote tweeted it saying that it was a fantastic thread. I was like, all right, well, my buddy's finally saying that it's good. So if he says it's good, then I probably should jump into it. And I dove into this little Zuzi thread about a solar system and what a little asteroid could. And man, the amount of knowledge that was dropped harkens back to the grandiose days of what Twitter was, and really just reminded me that the state of games journalism is horrible
Mhm.
when
Mhm.
some random writer decides to go down the rabbit hole of what a quasi moon is.
Mhm.
And if you guys haven't looked this up, I would just I would encourage you to go and try and find. It's just Latif LatifNasser on Twitter.
Mhm.
He's the writer type who's mostly harmless, apparently, in a co-host for WNYC's Radio Lab,
Mhm.
which they that is a podcast that they do. But apparently, they're trying to turn an asteroid that is both a moon and not a moon for Venus from 2002 VE,
Mhm.
which was the official designation upon discovery, the name of the actual the celestial body, to Zuzi, which was the misprint on a child's solar system poster.
Mhm.
And I gotta say, dude, it's stupid stuff like that that really is just like, it's fascinating because I do this. Like last night, I went down this rabbit hole when I saw a tweet from someone like asking to name a small camera, like a small filming camera, right? They're like, what should we call our run and gun camera? And I was like, the Walther PPK, because it's a small and it's being the run and gun camera. And the Walther PPK not only was James Bond's pistol, but is also a very popular pistol. I was like, well, just call it the Walther PPK. Then I went down the rabbit hole of what the heck the Walther PPK was. And that was like, it was a fantastic half hour that I'll never get back. But the amount of knowledge that I earned from this one random YouTube video and some digging was like, it was just that satisfaction of enrichment of knowledge that you didn't have before, that may not serve a purpose, but you just know it. And you know, one day someone's going to be like, oh yeah, the Walther PPK. And I was like, oh yeah, you know, that was actually a service pistol. It's actually been changed up a few times based on different countries because it was such a dependable weapon. But it's also one of the least popular ones just due to the name, the type of caliber that it is. It's not quite as powerful as like a 9mm gun, but in double O or GoldenEye 007 for the N64, it uses the same ammo as three different types, which is horribly inaccurate, but probably just a game development choice. It's fascinating, the random BS that I found out about this.
I want you to know my eyes glazed over twice, and I forced myself to come back, but I still, yeah, your rabbit hole went deep.
Get your fidget cube out. It's
Yep.
fine. I'm
Thank
not
you.
gonna.
I appreciate you for letting me fidget.
I
That was
don't
a deep
care.
cut. Thank you.
If you want to fidget, you can fidget. I've got. Oh no, I don't. I actually have a fidget cube, which I bought because it was a good Kickstarter, and it's a fantastic little cube. And then I also have my Ridge wallet that was gifted to us. That's in our merchandise that I typically play around with. And
Nice.
neither are present right now.
Well, let's get to our first topic here, Logan. Of course, we had industry devastating news as layoffs continue across the board. Embracer Group axing all kinds of jobs. But I think what garnered the most attention this past week was Microsoft laying off 1,900 positions during a restructuring, largely in the wake of the Activision Blizzard news. This, in many ways, and I felt very callous in my first reaction, I felt like this was very expected. And
It should be.
I felt very callous because I was like, this, I expected this because you have two major companies merging. You don't need two back offices as they become one company.
Yeah.
And that is a separate take than the empathy and sympathy I offer to the human element of this, those who are losing their livelihoods, their mortgage, those who move their families and their welfare across the countries and various things. But it did feel very expected. These closures were across the board. At Microsoft, there were a number of different studios that lost people, largely Activision Blizzard based. Sledgehammer Games lost about 30% of their staff. High Moon over 10%. Toys for Bob 30%. Treyarch, Infinity Ward, Raven, Solid State Studios, Beanox, Demonware. They all lost people as well. The Overwatch team was hit extremely hard as their Project Odyssey was shuttered, which makes perfect sense when you step back and look at what Project Odyssey was. It makes sense. It is still sad. And that's the point that I want to touch on there, because certainly a number of people have hit it. I do not think this spells doom and gloom for Microsoft, Xbox, or Activision Blizzard. What do you think?
No, I don't. A few things I want to jump in with. So, for those that are not in the know, Blizzard was working on a game called Project Odyssey, and that was their survival game that was in the works for roughly about 6 years. And they canned it. And unfortunately, when they have kind of these like in-house bake sessions where they're kind of working on a game and they've got something like on the stove that they're currently cooking on, after 6 years, 6 years is a long time for a game to be in production, to try and just like see if you can find that magic. They did this back in the day with a game called Project Titan. It was kind of the successor to what World of Warcraft was.
Mm-hmm.
And that was canned. But from that came Overwatch, which at the time was a lot more fun for people. People were having a lot more fun with things like Counter Strike and CS:GO and whatnot. They wanted to play a shooter, so they created Overwatch from Titan, and Destiny too. Destiny was one of those games that was just driving Titan behind the scenes. So yes, Odyssey was canceled. It sucks that that team was laid off, but there is an opportunity at this point for Xbox and Blizzard and Activision in general to really kind of focus in on what is actually going to be worth doing. I was very sad to hear that this was happening, because it wasn't just the people that were like the social media teams or the publishing teams or the PR teams. It was a lot of devs. A lot of devs were laid off, and unfortunately, I think the problem here is that this is just something that is happening across the industry right now for whatever reason, be it inflation, be it just a shrinking after games are launched. There's a lot of reasons why. I think you can probably attest to this is something that I think we're going to continue seeing for a while.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think we're done with the layoffs, and I think we're going to continue to see it. And it really sucks because I worry about my friends, but I did expect this to happen after the merger. I think I saw a tweet that Elizabeth Warren was saying that she warned about this happening, and a lot of people who work in M&A came out and was like, yeah, no duh. But I don't think anyone was expecting it to be so many.
Mm-hmm. I have a hard time with reconciling my feelings, and I know I just said a few moments ago, the human element to me is a very separate thing than the expectation of job loss and change, because I see this happening industry wide, and with big mergers, redundancies, failed projects not going where they need to, and the inflated budgets that come with bigger projects and the expectations of AAA. I think this is the snapback of the industry. We've seen snapback to every few years to industry trends that become too expensive or ineffective. A good example of snapback was the adjustment in trying to battle the used games market. What happened? You got an online code or a passcode, or like whenever you bought a game new, they gave you the online passcode. But that once that was used, you had to purchase the passcode. And when you bought a game physical, this was something that happened in order to combat the used games market. That gradually went away, and season passes, microtransactions took their place, and then they too altered over time, because it was microtransactions, and then it became season passes. And then the trend, thanks to Fortnite, of putting currency in season passes to keep people re-engaging. We see snapback pretty darn regularly as the industry adjusts, and so too in those elements do jobs change with it. I don't think this is the end all be all. I think this is just an adjustment to trying to deliver titles at a reasonable development cost for a good, healthy response in terms of revenue and profit. Companies, the part that I got a kick out of, were all the people that were suddenly very down on Microsoft or Xbox for ruining so many lives. after several weeks ago saying they would save
Yeah.
Activision Blizzard. I don't think the two are exclusive. Now, companies are companies. They are not our friends. They are not anything. We talk a lot about not evangelizing
Oh
leadership.
yeah. Yeah.
But I think you can be a shrewd businessman, businesswoman, business person, and human and kind. And I think that does occur. It's just few and far between in terms of public sight. One of our community members, I forget which one, called Phil Spencer a cutthroat, and that is not the vibe that I get there. Shrewd, capable, fine, but cutthroat to me implies backstabbing and lies and deceit, and I don't quite pick up on that in this particular case.
No.
Am I fanboying?
No, I don't think so, because I think this is, I mean, it is, you have to be shrewd when it comes to choosing who's going to keep a job and who's not. I don't think this is something that I would consider backstabbing, though. And I think maybe some of that is coming from the persona that Phil portrays when he's in interviews, but I don't think that is. I personally have never felt like that was coming across as a persona. I don't feel like that was coming across as a facade. It's always felt very genuine. He's always been very upfront about the mistakes that Xbox makes and the course corrections that they try to do. I think Phil is just one of those types of people who people can relate to as a gamer and hope that, yes, Phil is a businessman. Please assume that is his first priority and that the welfare of the company comes first over personal preferences or personal desires. Like his job is what's going to keep him paid to be able to continue to be the person that he is. That is going to be his first priority. You know, family first, then job, then everyone else.
And
so,
if I may, we saw a lot of in the various leaks and industry sharings that have happened. I think we've seen a lot of finger pointing to other executives at various times, but I don't feel like we've heard these negative stories about most that are currently in Xbox leadership.
Yeah.
Maybe that's, I just don't feel like we've heard or seen that, you know? And I don't feel like we've heard or seen that with many Sony people, with the exception of one or two.
We've heard that with like Bobby Kotick.
We've heard it for.
Like, that is a person that I think was probably a lot more backstabbing and shrewd.
Cutthroat, very much so.
Yes.
Absolutely doomed the Overwatch franchise.
Oh, yeah.
In the handling of Overwatch 2, which subsequent ripple effect hit Project Odyssey, which, for my money, from what I read about Odyssey, is it's very much a survival game that Xbox already has in its pantheon, right? With Minecraft and seemingly now Palworld. Which still stinks, but like, you know, Overwatch was irreparably damaged thanks to Bobby Kotick. I don't feel like we've heard those stories about Sarah Bond, Matt Booty, Phil Spencer, that kind of thing.
Now, counterpoint, maybe that is because people evangelize them so much.
Good point.
We don't see for a long time, someone is a hero until someone speaks up who is actually portraying the proper perspective of who this human being is and how they treat others. Until we get those, we all just kind of think everything is sunshine and honey,
A good point. Something that this is a silver lining in an awful week of layoffs. Riot Games was praised for the very generous severance packages that they were giving, the healthcare packages, keep trying to keep people on their feet for, I think it was like 6 months, and then they can keep more time based on their tenure with the company. We've not heard anything about the Microsoft layoffs. The wording in some of the memos said in accordance with local laws, which doesn't spell happiness and sunshine for me the way, like the silver lining happiness sunshine that the Riot one does. So, but I imagine over the next few weeks we will see those things.
Yeah,
good and bad.
It's going to be hard to say. Unfortunately, I know a lot of Riot team members who are friends of my friends who did get laid off. Seeing their severance package feels more in line with California state laws, because we are a very pro employee state. Like a lot of when everyone was raising or when the federal wage was going up in a few years back in like 2020, a lot of companies in California decided to raise theirs early just to get it out of the way so that projections would be accommodated properly when they have the opportunity to. So it wouldn't surprise me. Riot being based in LA
that's right.
is one of those things where they're just doing that. And historically, Blizzard has tried to be good to their employees when it comes to pay and severance, retirement packages, things like that. Like a lot of folks are kind of grandfathered in compared to nowadays. It's definitely not nearly as good as it used to be, but I am hoping that the folks that were impacted will get some sort of restitution. The trouble right now is that this is the worst time to be trying to get a job in the industry.
Yeah, it feels very saturated with talent that is looking for a job.
Yeah. There are more people laid off right now than ever before. As a result, there's not many jobs that people can take or are willing to take because not all jobs are remote. And a lot of people that did go to Blizzard as a result of the acquisition are moving back to wherever they can because their job is just not there anymore. And it is very expensive to live in Southern California. So it's just one of those bummer stories, man. There's nothing positive about this. I know that there was some news about some of the teams that used to work for Blizzard, who were the community management teams or the customer service managers, customer service teams. Those are being let go to possibly be, farmed out to out of country companies, which is a huge shame because Blizzard was one of those companies that had really good customer service, like amazingly good customer service. You could reach out to them, talk to them, be honest about what was going on, and they genuinely helped rectify issues that you would come across. And to lose that is kind of losing a part of that older mentality that human beings should be behind the actions that serve a company. And that the better customer service you have, the better rapport you have with your customer base, the more in tune you are with what their wants and desires are, to better inform your decisions in the future. And if you're not getting more than just the customer sat percentage from another company during quarterly meetings, then you're going to start losing touch with your customer base.
I greatly miss Xbox support. When they were run by humans, they were a fantastic support, and Xbox support now is not nearly as useful or helpful or responsive as it once was.
A lot of automated messages now.
Very frustrating as a dedicated customer with how those automated messages are handled versus, hey, John, I'm struggling with this. Oh, okay, let me look into that. And they genuinely are very frustrating. Very frustrating. We mentioned Blizzard, and I do want to loop back to Call of Duty, so please don't allow me to forget.
Okay.
But you mentioned Blizzard, and I think it was most notable to so many people that we saw Mike Ibarra exit from this kind of transition out. He's choosing to leave is the wording that he and Matt Booty both offered. I have mixed thoughts on this one. Ibarra, of course, well known throughout the gaming industry, well known for Xbox fans because he used to work at Xbox. He certainly seemed positive when Xbox took over and from Activision. He certainly seemed supportive. He certainly seems to have seen the company through the merger, and like Lulu and several others, now is exiting. The statement that he put out subsequently suggests that he's going to travel, spend time with his family before figuring out what he wants to do, and the word "want" being key. I'm very curious if he was asked to exit, or if this was done by choice. Regardless, I wish him the best, and I'm very curious to know kind of what happens.
I am very of two minds because Mike Ibarra has definitely been a lot more present as president of Blizzard, but I don't know that he's loved all that much. The messaging
at Blizzard or by gamers?
By fans of Blizzard.
I see.
And I don't know if that's and unfortunately, the people that are saying that tend to be the people that are most cued into the news and have people at the studio that they've talked to. So a lot of that comes as anecdotal evidence from conversations that are being had by other devs and stuff. So it's hard to know like what the true Mike Ybarra was like unless you actually worked there. So it's very interesting. It is kind of a shame that the message that he put out does not really come across as humble given the number of layoffs. The thing for me that hit more than Mike Ybarra's leaving was actually Alan Adham, who was effectively basically the person who started Blizzard. Mike Morhaime and Alan Adham and Chris Metzen, there was a handful of people at the very beginning of Blizzard's inception, and all of them are gone now. They're, as far as I can remember, of the original founders, and Alan was kind of like the main founder. They're all gone, and Blizzard is now left to the fans who have become the leadership and Microsoft. And unfortunately, when you have something like that, it kind of speaks to the like. I'm very passionate about this because I've been following Blizzard and been a fan of Blizzard for all of my life. Basically, there's a very small portion of my life that is there's a smaller percentage of my life where I wasn't a fan of Blizzard compared to the time when Blizzard existed and I was a fan. There are core values that they have inscribed on metal plates around the wolf statue that is down in Irvine at their main campus. The people that created those are no longer there. What value or worth do those core values have if the founders themselves are no longer there to perpetuate that culture?
Are you asking that rhetorically?
Yes.
And you don't think future leadership will be able to answer that question then?
I think future leadership is being placed by Microsoft. And when you have leadership, it's like with any company, if you have an outside manager come in as opposed to promoting from within, you lose some of the culture and some of the understanding of how a company runs and how the employees are treated and what is the expectation. That unfortunately it's part of that formula that makes a Blizzard game Blizzard. And I'm hoping that someone within Blizzard will step up, but at this point it's like watching a movie where they've assassinated all of Congress and the president and the vice president, and you've got like the Secretary of State left and they're supposed to run a country. I just worry about the state of Blizzard as a result of all of the main leadership and the current leadership leaving. Who's going to run that company that actually understands the importance of what made Blizzard so amazing?
I see. That is a fair question to ask. I feel this is akin to what we're watching happen with 343 in a lot of ways. What is 343 now? What is Halo? We're watching Halo as a franchise change. And part of these I will call them structural changes, which is a cold-hearted way to say people lost jobs and there's reordering, right? But the structural changes throughout Microsoft feel like they might not only be accounting for industry trends, the rise of digital, Game Pass, the exit from physical in some ways, whatever else it might be, but they look at how Redfall and Halo were managed. They look at how the Fallout franchise was managed. They look at how Call of Duty was being managed, and they are set to adjust their perspectives and their approach to certain things. That's what it feels like. Halo, we know Halo Infinite is in a great place now with a good year ahead of it, but also they're working on the next step in the Halo franchise. And Halo Infinite's development cycle was a disaster, a lesson in what not to do. Redfall, a lesson in what not to release. Forza Motorsport, a reminder of, hey, maybe you just fill out the palette isn't worth it. You need more time in there. And I'm curious to know if that changes things going forward. Mike Ybarra leaving, the values that come into that company, whoever takes over for Activision Blizzard, which we should find out by the next episode of this, it'll be curious to know what their background is, what their resume suggests about their values, and I'm curious about it. And I will tie this quite well to Call of Duty. The future of the Call of Duty franchise is in flux now because it sounds like, much like Halo, single and multiplayer are being decoupled in future, not immediately like your next Call of
Not
Duty
the
is a
next
black.
iteration, not
Right.
2024.
Correct, but going forward, future Warzone is being decoupled from it as well. So, how are you going to build Sledgehammer, High Moon, Toys for Bob, Raven, Treyarch, Beanox, all losing staff? Why? What was it? What was it they lost? Was it redundancies in like networking, development? What was the intention? And the consistent question we as gamers are asking is like, okay, anecdotally, is Toys for Bob going to be freed up to work on Spyro or work on X or Y?
Yeah.
What's going to happen with Call of Duty if they lose not just the staff from layoffs, but studio attention? And I think that's going to be a really interesting thing to watch going forward. What are the values and goals of Call of Duty? What are they trying to deliver? Are you trying now to compete with other major franchises? Do you want Halo and Call of Duty releasing in the same quarter? Do you want Minecraft to interact with Grounded or not? Who are you competing with? How are you building games to go forward?
Yeah.
There's a lot of questions to be answered, and these restructurings I think will be telling, but we still don't know.
So there's two, and this is going to be a little doom and gloom as well too. So I apologize in advance, but there's two aspects to this that I'm concerned about. And one of them is kind of the past sets the precedent for the future, where Halo Infinite was built off of the work of many studios and a lot of contract workers who were only on for a portion of time that allowed them to work on the project but not be fully employed as permanent employees, right?
Correct.
A lot of the issue that we saw with that was just how decoupled issue or things were with Halo Infinite. Since they've pared back a lot of their contract work, they've brought in the Halo MCC team, and they've tried to kind of rectify a lot of the issues that they've had as a result, which is doing well for the game as a franchise, but it has still got a lot of that lingering issue, kind of that baggage that came as a result. The paring down of Call of Duty Studios speaks to two concerns that I have. One, this is what we asked for. We asked for Call of Duty to not come out on an annual basis. A lot of gamers are saying, take your time. It's fine if they don't come out every year. We'll keep playing the multiplayer, but let the studios have time to breathe. You can't have people sitting on their butt and pay them if you're going to continue to be a profitable company. You can do that maybe with lawyers, because you never know when a fire is going to crop up. But when it comes to talent, that is not always something that you can justify.
Right.
So if you're going to say, we want fewer Call of Duty games, we want better quality, the first thing that's going to happen is they're going to pare down the studios so that they don't need all of the necessary talent to be able to do that. And what they're going to do is they're going to work the talent that's left at the same rate that they are on a smaller cadence. To supplement that, you hire contract workers and you start having them work on projects for 18 months. And next thing you know, you're running into problems where people are not working on a project long enough to meaningfully impact the positive development of that product. It's like trusting that a person who knows that they're going to be working part-time at a McDonald's to care about the health and concerns of the food they're making.
Right.
Why do they care? They're on a timer at this point. They're just trying to make their minimum effort, minimum wage, and go about their day, because at the end of the day, they don't care. It's a job. Nobody cares really about their job, because the job facilitates the thing that we all care about. And there's only a small handful of the percentage of population on this planet that actually get to do what they love, making money for it. That doesn't feel like an actual job. A lot of people that do what they do passionately are working to the bone to try and make that like a reality and maintain it. So those are my two concerns. Those are very doom and gloom. I'm hoping that the result of this will afford the money to fund projects that are more in the line of revitalizing dead IP, as opposed to consistently grinding at the Call of Duty machine and oiling the gears there. But who knows? This is like, you do this to try and free up some talent and money to be able to do projects that are weird.
Right.
And I hope that, we've seen that Microsoft is doing really well with those. Hi-Fi Rush, Grounded, Pentiment, things like that. And that's the hope. But the realistic look at things right now is that a lot of people just lost their jobs, and it would really suck if those people get hired back on at worse pay or worse benefits later down the road, because they realized that they needed to actually keep those people.
Right. I'll be curious to know how this impacts project size as well. I don't remember if we spoke last week about project size next to the budget conversations that came, but I like the idea of a 10-hour game versus a 50-hour game if it allows projects to be smaller, arrive faster, and keep people in cycle more often. I would love a 6-hour Spyro, a 6-hour Crash, a 6-hour Banjo, which we can't say that word. It's like Voldemort now.
You can't. I know it's never going to happen, so I'm not worried about it.
He's a stupid character, and I think you guys are dumb for asking for him.
Kazooie is way better, first off. The fact that you guys don't want a Kazooie game really bothers me, because Banjo's dumb. He's all the time, and Kazooie's the smart one.
I just feel the need to remind everybody that there are 3 Crackdowns, and I want Crackdown 4 more than Banjo-Kazooie, like just to keep my credibility.
Might actually get one of those right.
Oh, I'd be so happy.
The 4th one might be the actual good one. You never know.
They were all good.
They were all good at failing at what they needed to do.
Imagine anybody that doesn't know XEP or me or anything, and they they see a clip of just that, and I'm like, I want Crackdown more than
the
Banjo.
Internet does not know. The internet does not take things out of context. I am constantly in faith that we just need one more really good, strong opinion to right the world. And I believe Twitter to be that place where we can get that one strong opinion from a middle-aged white dude with a microphone. But
can I just,
Luke,
Elon's where it's at. I have a feeling I know where you're headed. You would like us to read our Patreon pitch?
I do. I want us to give some shout outs, because I saw the other day that we were getting some love in the Discord for our Discord being so awesome. And I wanted to call out the people in that Discord and our Patreon, because they're the ones that make it awesome.
Absolutely. I want to shout out those same people, because they make my gaming day better every single time. And it is awesome to have a community of people that just want to celebrate games. Nobody knocks anyone else's games. We have such a range.
That's not true. That's not true. I knock the crap out of Battlefield 2042 on a regular basis when I can.
Fair. Okay, you know what? I take it back. Egg on my face. But yeah, no, our patrons are amazing. The Discord is absolutely incredible. Recently, Chris from 1H1D joined. He's one of our newest patrons. I want to give him a shout out. I loved seeing him in chat. Chris is awesome, and 1H1D is a great Xbox podcast as well. But I need to read these tier 2 and 3 shout outs and let everybody know that when you support us at patreon.com/Xbox Expansion Pass, you're helping send us on trips. We really, really want to go to California this year. I want to go to California this year. Logan's just going to drive down. I need to fly across the country to meet one of my best friends and go to FanFest. And so if you're able to throw $3 a month, $5 a month, even 10 at tier 3, we'd be grateful. And we bring you great content, like our interview with Cliff Blazinski last week, like our interview coming up with Steven Totillo, from Kotaku to Axios to GameFile. There's certainly plenty of good questions there. These tier 2 and 3 shout outs, let me read them. Nicholas Johnson, Ellery Woods Parker III, Nicholas Downey, Rob Frawley II, Tao Zochi, Xbox Skittle, Steel Rain, Matto 1606, Randall Thor 19, Silkenet, Rick Gaffney, African aka Charles Jones, Game Positive, Jam Pack Sam, Matt Valdez, Neo Prime 33, Rick Davis, Red Beast, Xbox Mike 29, the Lord Sir Master Allfather James Suddy Esquire, Brendan Myers, aka the Winter Gamer, Sony's VP of Marketing Kevin Butler, Clint Coombs, DJ Hero, and Dano12. Thank you guys for supporting XEP over at patreon.com/Xbox Expansion Pass. We appreciate you.
Can I just say, I love Silkenit's ability to ride the fence for both XEP and Trophy Room. I don't know how they do it, but I really appreciate the fact that they're able to be so positive about gaming in both chats when I see them hanging out.
Yeah, they are pretty great. And games are awesome and should be celebrated across the board. I saw a couple people giving Joe a hard time over at the Trophy Room for calling out different developers for not doing things right, praising other things as great. And it wasn't PlayStation fanboy, it wasn't Xbox fanboy. He pushed back. He's like, no, I like games. I do a PlayStation show. We do an Xbox show. We love games everywhere. So shout out to him.
Mm-hmm.
All right, man. This was interesting. Physical games are in decline. I think that's a pretty obvious thing industry wide. But it looks like Xbox is shuttering some of the teams that work to make physical games. And this pairs, interestingly, I should say, with the news that Starfield is being taken off shelves at a number of stores, including Walmart. They're being sold for 3 cents, which really just means they're being taken off shelves, not actually sold for 3 cents. We used to do that at GameSpot all the time. And that means they're being redistributed to different markets. And in large part, they want to save the shelf space. I was not bothered by this in a like doom and gloom sense. It seems to be a natural progression of the industry, but I was sad that it's happening because there was something special about going to the gaming and movie sections when you were a kid. But I'll open it up for you in just a moment. Physical game media is dead, has been dead. It's not a thing anymore. Like, what good is a Starfield disc? It's outdated the moment it's printed, thanks to patches and updates. And you have to have an internet connection for so many games. There are so few games that exist in a AAA state that are what they are on the disc, and that's it. And so I feel like this is much ado about nothing. I get wanting to have something cool on the shelf, but I don't see physical gaming as a thing anymore. And I will fight anybody, fist fight anybody in the streets that says otherwise, because I'm mean, and I don't know. I'm trying to make a joke. It's just not going where I'm going. I was trying to like make it land. I don't know.
I know where you're going with this.
It was like Michael Scott. I started it, and I was like, I don't know where I'm going with this. I don't know. But yeah, physical games, they're going away. What do you think?
No, I do think they are going away. How do I feel about that? You know, I honestly, it doesn't impact me, but it does suck. And the reason it sucks for me is not because I care about whether or not there's a physical cartridge or a physical disc that I can throw into a game. Although I do like that, because one of the things that happened last year was Red Dead Redemption was being upscaled and ported to the PS4 and Nintendo Switch.
Mm-hmm.
It has been available for Xbox with those automatic upgrades for a long time, as a result of backwards compatibility and just auto HDR and 60 frames per second frame boost or FPS boost. And I went out to my local shop where one of my buddies works, and I picked up a used copy of the game for a fraction of the cost that it was digitally, and came home and sat down and played it. And it was fantastic. It had a huge map in it, had a whole bunch of like instruction booklet type stuff. We are no longer getting the type of physical media that we used to get. If we were still getting full on box copies with instruction manuals and cool little features in them, and the games were on multiple discs, if that was still the expectation, I would say this sucks. But that is, to your point, not what we're getting. And because of the way games are updated, it is not the current process for that. If I want to play Far Cry 6, which I have physically, I have to go and I have to throw it into my console. I have to install it from the disc. which is just pulling the data from the store.
Right.
It's not even like pulling the data off the disk, really. It's like maybe pulling like 500 megabytes off the disk, which is just to kind of initiate it. And once that authentication process is done, then it's good. But then I have to keep the bloody disk in there the whole time. It doesn't just automatically lock to the store. And one of the issues that I have with this isn't that physical media is going away, because I'm fine with that. It's more that I don't have better control over my digital media. I don't have a way to sell my digital library to anyone at any point. And I think that's the bigger concern. If we still had the ability to digitally transfer games from one person to another for a cost or for free, then I don't think many people would rub up against the fact that we're losing physical games. It goes back to that old idea of Steve Jobs, who said, if you sell people what they want, they won't pirate it. And the premise is similar in my mind. It may not be an exact, a good example, but if you give people the same rights that you have with physical media, like you would at like a garage sale, but you do that for digital goods, then yeah, it's easy. Get a tablet, get a phone, log into your accounts, click on the thing you want to transfer, give the user handle or the email address of the person that wants it, give it to them, allow them to pay for it through their means or give it as a gift. And then you're done with it. You don't have to think about it. Digital media is then a consumer facing product that will then transfer along. And it's like, what do you do in this point? Also, what do you also have? Like, because consoles are region free, it doesn't matter where you buy your game. If it's physical, you just stick it in and it works on your console. With stores and accounts that are all region locked because of different legislations in different countries, it is much harder for people who bounce between one country and another, who have accounts with huge numbers of games on them, to be able to access those or get new games for those accounts if they're in different countries.
Right.
There's a ton of legislation that needs to happen around this for people to feel like they have actual ownership over the products that they are purchasing. And legislation is the only way that this is going to change. And I think there needs to be better advocacy for that in governments across the board. And I think the EU is doing the best job of it right now.
It's so interesting to hear you talk about this and be so impassioned about it, because it just isn't that important to me. And that's a fascinating thing. And maybe that's a spoiled take, because right now I just do what I want to do. Like, right? Like I've got what I want. And anybody that's sounding the alarm bells is either wiser than me and seeing something that I'm not seeing, or it's just a stick in their craw. And I don't know where it is, right? Like I don't know where the line is, but I've not been bothered as the industry has shifted in a lot of ways. Like right now, we are approaching a digital only future for Xbox, right? They've got the Series S out there. They experimented this on the Xbox One. And we saw from the self-imposed leaks that the Brooklyn, which is the Xbox Series X all digital, for lack of a better descriptor, was definitely in production at one point. Don't know if it'll come out. It would seem likely, but no if ands or buts on the absolutes. But certainly it's the direction that they're going. I foresee the future 15 years from now where I just log in. I have my controller and I play. Like I can already play my Xbox on my phone. That's a thing and has been a thing for years now. I don't necessarily want things on my shelf that I have to get up, move, manipulate. I want my toys or a trophy of some kind, like something special that represents something to me, but I don't need the disc, the cartridge, that. I just don't seem bothered by that trend. And I'm not even worried about not having an Xbox down the line. I don't care if it's a Switch, a PlayStation, a Samsung TV, as long as my achievements and my memories and my controller are all intact. I don't know that I would have said that 5 years ago, but that's where I am now.
Well, I think the difference is that you are benefiting from being in an ecosystem that perpetuates the idea of being accessible everywhere. If you're a Nintendo fan, buddy, you don't have choices. You have like a Switch cart, which you know, if that's the case, then you're gonna have to just like do you know about this? Do you know? Maybe you've heard about this.
Mm-hmm.
There is a switch cart that is literally just a jump box for sticking a micro SD into that cart
Mm-hmm.
and then putting that cartridge into your console.
Hmm.
Like there's already a micro SD card slot on the actual console, right? But to swap that out is so annoying that
Mm-hmm.
people are actually creating cartridges that fit into the cartridge slot that you just put an SD card into, like a reader.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason for it is because the internal memory for that console is terrible. It is
Nintendo's not been good at hardware for a long time.
no, they've been very good at hardware at
Dis-
not costing money.
okay, so we're saying okay. Yeah, I
They're
don't think
they're
it's
good
good.
at they're good at making hardware that is interesting and unique,
Mm-hmm.
and they're good at making hardware that people will buy and that
Mhm.
is cheap to make. They're not bleeding edge in any way though.
No, they're not. Did you see the software updates that were kicking out to Xbox users that are certainly going to make their way into PlayStation and Nintendo at some point? But essentially, a software fix to account for stick drift, or
No.
firmware fix, I should say, not software. But
Oh my
essentially, like
god.
as the physical hardware starts to degrade and you get stick drift coming in, which is not a big problem on Xbox compared to Joy Cons, which makes sense, right? Joy Cons are built for a younger audience and smaller, but essentially, it'll identify if there's stick drift happening, and on the firmware side, account for it, so that you're less likely to have to go replace. I saw that as a thing. That's got to be a thing that other companies are working on as well.
So they make they excuse
Who's
me.
they?
They make Joy-Con that are
Nintendo or third party?
third party
Okay.
that are replacement joysticks for your Joy-Con. And the reason why these, which are the Ghoulie kits, they're Hall sensing joysticks. And Hall sensing joysticks do not rely on physical connection between the points of contact for the X and Y axis on joysticks. It relies purely on magnetics. It's just a sensor that moves across, and it's all done with magnets as opposed to something touching another thing and eventually wearing down that contact point that lets you know like where the actual stick position is, right?
Got it.
That's how drift works, is that the contact points are worn down over time, over usage,
Mhm.
and they no longer sense where that position of that point is for the XY axis.
Mhm.
If companies just switch over to a Hall sensing design for joysticks, we would no longer have drift. No one would have to worry about it. They would rather do a temporary fix, which is the software update, apparently, to account for the bad design of these joysticks, as opposed to moving to a much better thing. What needs to happen is legislation to be able to push forward repairs.
You are on a political kick this today.
It's a consumer.
God,
It's a
man.
consumer facing concept. This will allow what I'm saying is that, and this is if if anyone's done anything that has ever involved iFixit, which I know is a very household name when it comes to repairing.
Mm-hmm.
They have always been trying to push legislation to try and make sure that if consumers want to repair their own products, it does not void the warranty from the manufacturer. That is
have you tweeted Joe Biden about this, Logan?
no.
Or Senator Warren or Ron DeSantis? I hear he's not busy anymore. Have you decided to jump on this social train? This could be your platform, dude. You could do it.
I'm not. I'm a big advocate, but I'm not a lobbyist. I'm not going to try and proposition. This is for someone who has more legal standing than I do. I know what the issues are. I know what can fix them. I can't do that. I'm not that person. But what I want to say is that this kind of thing is the thing that I think people should be talking about more than what are the fruit physics like. But at the end of the day, no one cares, because more people would rather go out and beat a cute animal with a baseball bat and throw it into
Logan.
a pot to cook while they reload their gun before they jump on their hang glider and sail around to a world.
That was your transition to Palworld? That was your transition to Palworld. That's how you chose to do that.
Yeah.
Not legislation into the Apple iTunes Xbox thing. You wanted to beat a puppy with a bat transition. God. Oh
It's one of those
guys,
episodes.
I am concerned. I have some
All right.
concerns.
Well, let's cover some of the other stuff then. Yeah. Well, did we actually talk? Okay. So we did talk about the physical being gone. Sucks. I understand it. We need better legislation in place to give us people like the opportunity to do that. Did you want to dive into Palworld, or did you want to dive into App Store getting iTunes and stuff?
Real quick, just to see how many times we can say legislation in 10 minutes. Thanks to EU regulations, Apple is now going to allow Xbox Game Pass, GeForce Now to be on iOS natively. And this is a big deal because it sounds like we're going to be able to have cloud gaming more readily available in the EU, or sorry, on Apple, thanks to those EU regulations. Did I say that properly?
So kind of, yes. It's already available.
Mm-hmm.
The difference is that if anyone's ever tried to do Game Pass on their phone, either on their iPhone,
Mm-hmm.
you have to go through a rigmarole of going through your browser, and then it tells you like, all right, well, click the little button that says add shortcut to home screen, and you're like, and you do it. Now it can actually be a full-fledged app. It can be like a native app that is launched in there. They can update it. They can add functionality with the hooks that a lot of the software has that is not allowed because it's done through the browser. Effectively, this is just going to give Xbox a lot more control to be able to iterate on the Game Pass app, as opposed to just relying on a browser-based system, which is as dumb as it can be for the sake of things like, TV usage or Chromebook usage, right? The fact that Fortnite is still not on iOS, as far as I can tell, that is still one of the barriers for a lot of people to want to play Fortnite on their tablets and stuff, on their iPads and their iPhones.
Like the extra step of login. Is that what you mean?
It's the step is still there, but the difference is that right now there's no native way to play Fortnite on your phone, as far as I can tell.
Mm-hmm.
You have to do it through a streaming service. And given that Fortnite is free with Xbox Game Pass, you don't have to sign up for the service to be able to play it. You can just access it through Game Pass. Having a native app there ensures that it'll be better for gamers who want to do that. And this is step one of opening up the ecosystem on iOS and allowing people to be able to put their games on there through stores that are not necessarily Apple's.
Gotcha. Okay. Gotcha. I think this is a good thing, right? Like, we're happy about this.
Yeah, this is great because it's been a walled garden, and the restrictions that Apple puts in there used to be like consumer presented things as like, we're protecting you from the potential harms that could come from people sideloading software on through a different store and not having control over that. This is now basically saying like, all right, we're starting to open up. You can stream Netflix on your iPhone. Why shouldn't you be able to stream a game? Because it's competing with Apple's initiative to create the Apple Arcade. So they're effectively trying to monopolize their store because it's their store, and they don't want other people being able to do stuff like that. And because they can't regulate the games that are coming through based on the sheer number that are on Game Pass and GeForce Now, they didn't want to expose people to games that could potentially be outside of the age rating for games that are already rated for different groups, demographics, or age groups and stuff like that. And it was all BS. It was all stupid. The EU is pushing regulations to ensure that the Apple is falling more in line with like actual industry standards, like USB-C type for their charging ports. Now they're opening up the App Store. It's just going to be a lot better for consumers, and we just need to keep pushing these things forward and forward and forward, and keep making sure that consumers are taken care of.
You know what we need, Logan?
What's that?
Legislation.
Oh man, legislation fixes everything.
That's what I've heard.
That's you take a bill to the Congress and then they vote on it and then it gets put into legislation and then before you know it, profit.
That's how I've always known it to
That's
be.
how you get to be a $3 trillion company.
You see this Palworld thing going around?
I think I heard it. Yeah, I heard about it. Yeah.
Palworld,
Yeah.
not not a Pokemon clone, just for the record. Yes, they look like Pokemon.
No,
I
it's
think.
it's Pokemon with guns.
Oh,
Okay.
gotcha.
It's Pokemon with guns.
Anybody that looks at the cover art would think just that. Pokemon with guns. I think it's a very rational thing to say. I think a lot of people have
Yeah.
noted as much. However, the gameplay is much closer to something like Minecraft or Valheim. Several members of our community are enjoying it. I think Todd Oxtra, Kevin Butler, Clint Coombs are all playing it. You've played it. You sent me some B-roll there. Our buddy Kevin somehow loves this game, which I think is awesome, but I did not expect, right? Certainly seems to be catching people by storm. Over 2 million concurrent players on Steam. Pretty insane. 8 million copies have been sold on Steam. This is the second highest number of concurrent players, by the way, 2 million, behind PUBG, which hit like 3.2 million concurrents at one point in its time. What I find so interesting about this game is it's unfinished, just like PUBG was, right? It's an early access title. Again, you can play this game on Xbox Game Pass or PC Game Pass. My understanding is the Xbox version is a bit behind the PC version. I've heard some say, I believe it was Ainsley Bowden actually, now that I'm saying this, it was light years behind it, whereas I've heard other anecdotal saying, no, it's not that far behind the PC version. Nonetheless, people are loving it, enjoying it greatly. I don't really have an interest in a survival game. That's not really my kind of thing. But to see so many people jumping in, it might be one of those waves that catches me. I was not on the Fortnite wave early on. Now I love Fortnite. So I don't know. What did you think? You went hands on with it.
Yeah, so I played quite a bit of it. I made a really cool house. It's 3-story. It's got a nice kind of expanded rooftop, so it's open on the top level there with a little bit of a loft for storage. And I've got like all the little pals kind of doing their business. I captured them. I told them what to do. They're working for food and enjoyment while making sure that I have lumber and rock. And like I don't want to get into the whole like slavery thing because that's
like you made it sound like that. Are they like in Warcraft where you're like, these are your workers, these are your this? Is it like that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
More work. I mean, it's like nobody, everyone just assumed that those workers were getting paid in benefits in Warcraft 3. So I guess we can just assume that for Palworld too, because apparently it's an issue with Palworld, but not for like other games.
Job's done.
Yeah. And that's the thing is like the goal of this is the survival side of it is kind of cool. Because so many times when I jump into a survival game, they're like, all right, go out and get supplies, build things up, and then continue to go out and get more supplies and then build things up. And you're constantly having to gather and build and gather and build and gather and build. With Palworld, they give you the opportunity to build, but then create automated systems like, I can't think of the conveyor belts, like, whatever the like, it kind of goes in line with it. Anyway, the pals, you have ones that are
assembly
like
lines,
assembly line. Yeah. Okay. You've got people that are like, you got little pals that are harvesting goods, and then you have little pals that gather the harvested goods and put them in storage. And it's just a feedback loop. When they get tired, they go sit in a little spa. When they're when they're unhappy, they go sit in the spa. When they're tired, they go and they sleep in the bed. And it's just a little ecosystem, and they get fed. That's there's no pay. There's gold, but there's no pay. But then you have like the whole like other side of it, which is to go out and capture pals, which have abilities and do better against have abilities that are paper, rock, scissors to other pals. And you have like team rockets out there. And then you have, like big monsters and battles and dungeons and stuff. And it's like taking parts of Breath of the Wild and you're mashing it together with like Rust or Vampire Survivor, or not Vampire Survivor. What was the reference you gave?
Warcraft?
No. Valheim. That's it.
Valheim. Okay.
Um, it's like Breath of the Wild meets Valheim meets Pokemon,
Mm-hmm.
and give them guns because America. And it turns out that a lot of people, for whatever reason, when you give them guns as like the end game for something, they're like, oh yeah, I'll go smack a tree for a while so I
Mm-hmm.
can get guns. Heck yeah. But go ahead.
Well, it's I was so unbothered by a lot of the outrage that people are pretending to have towards this game, because there are
Oh
so
man.
people are upset that they're carrying guns. Like, really? Call of Duty? What?
I don't even think they're
And
upset about that. I think they're upset about the fact that there's the plagiarism and the AI aspect. That's always come across more than the guns aspect of it. But keep going with the guns.
well, no, so let's address the plagiarism aspect. If it comes to pass that there is truly plagiarism occurring, that is bad, and don't endorse it, not okay with that. I do not support that. But
Yeah.
if it's an idea that's been iterated on, everyone needs to hush. Everyone just needs to be quiet. Sure, they look like Pokemon, right? But when I played Prince of Persia, was that copying Super Metroid or Castlevania, or was it done because it's a genre now? Pokemon does not own the idea of being cute and cuddly. That is not a thing, right? I just don't understand that aspect of it. Now, if it comes to pass that what they took as a Jigglypuff, added a horn, and suddenly we're here, fine. But like, I'm looking at some of these Pokemon, and there is no thought whatsoever put into some of them, and I don't see the need to be outraged at this. If anything, I
Yeah.
hope this motivates Nintendo to do a better job cultivating a once great franchise. I think Pokemon has not been well treated in a gameplay experience for some time.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So to kind of lay things out real quick, there's been no proof that AI has been used in the game. There's been
Is that bad, by the way? I'm cutting you off again. I'm sorry.
So
Who
okay,
cares?
so
Talk to me.
the idea is that with and I have to be clear about this. People are generalizing AI to such a degree that
Yeah.
you need to chill out just a little bit and realize that all games have AI in them. There
Mhm.
is some sort of algorithm, artificial intelligence, whether it be procedurally generated or developed for an NPC walking around and picking up poop off a street,
Mhm.
that is in games already. So saying AI bad is too much of a generalization. Where AI can be bad is when it is creating artwork that is then perpetuated as artistry from actual resources that are pulled from outside sources in an
Mhm.
engine that were not paid for to create imagery. Like if they're
Correct.
stealing art from actual artists to create art,
Mhm.
that is a bad way to push AI. That's not always the case for all AI art generation, by the way.
Mhm.
A lot of it is done in house with their own artistry, and then they use it to generate ideas.
Which makes good sense.
So there's nuance
Mhm.
that can't be done in 240 characters on a fucking website. Sorry, I'm sorry.
That's
I
our
didn't bleep.
one. Now
I
we're
didn't bleep.
PG-13.
Son of a gun.
Red Beast, we apologize to only
Very
Red Beast
sorry
and no
about
one
that.
else.
I let it slip. I was using my hands to talk, and I didn't have the button. So that's on me. And then the other aspect of it is because the CEO is such a big fan of AI that they've used it in past games, but they haven't been proven to use it in Palworld. So if you want to condemn the company because the CEO is for AI, then condemn Apple, condemn Microsoft, condemn so many other studios and companies in tech that are using AI, because I guarantee you it doesn't matter who it is. AI is going to be part of our future. It's
Mhm.
already. If you have a Google Home, if you have an Alexa, if you have an iPhone, or if you have an Android phone, you're already supporting AI.
Mhm.
It just depends on where does it affect you. And most of the time it comes down to artists and voice actors. Those are the two that are the most impacted by the detriments of using AI over hiring people to do stuff. Cliff Bleszinski just said what is bad about AI. It makes some really dumb stuff.
Mhm.
I personally agree. I love that AI art generation can make some really dumb stuff. I treat it like an Etch-a-Sketch. I make something cool, it looks silly, and then I shake it, delete it, and I move on.
Mhm.
But anytime I need artwork, I like to buy. I like to commission an artist to actually do that because it's something that I need copyrighted. It's something that I need to be using for production that is going to be monetized at some point, either indirectly or directly. And that is important to me to hire someone to actually do that work. That's where the whole AI thing has gone. Why do I feel like I've been on a soapbox this whole
You really have.
episode? Why?
I've just been noted. I don't know. I was gonna say, what was
Why?
in your coffee this morning?
It was not good creamer, that's for sure. I need better creamer.
Oh, there's a lot to take in with that one too.
That was
okay.
But yeah, Palworld is getting flack for that, and it's coming from a lot of disgruntled Pokemon fans and anti-AI people. In my personal perspective, a lot of people unhappy that this is getting so much attention and is earning as much as it is in the state that it's in, which is less buggy in my opinion than some of the Pokemon games that we've gotten recently. Mm-hmm. But because the designs are similar, and because Pokemon has not had a good game in a long time, there are a lot of unhappy people. And what does unhappy people want to do? Get Pitchfork and start poking at the thing that is causing happiness.
It's I think we need legislation.
It could be legislation that's causing this. But I've been having fun with Palworld. I think if you're on Game Pass and you want to give it a shot, you can jump in and beat trees and rocks with sticks to build better sticks so that you can go and beat animals with sticks and then force them to make more resources for you to get better, bigger sticks. It's a gameplay loop that works. Mm-hmm. I don't know. I don't know why people have a problem with this over, going and enslaving a Pokemon and then forcing it to battle its friend as an 8-year-old.
I'll say if you're playing Palworld, please put a comment in. If you want legislation passed, please put a comment in. If you want to know what type of coffee Logan drinks, please put a comment.
Going on in the game industry that you can speak to about this, and I can take a break.
Yeah, Suicide Squad's coming out, and this is a game that I'm real mad about because I know I'm gonna play it. I'm angry that it exists, but I have to acknowledge that of late, and in this past week, several Suicide Squad developers came out on their socials and discussed the passion at which they are creating Kill the Justice League with, the love that they've had. I could tell in the beta, which I did not enjoy, or the alpha, the NDA alpha that we're not allowed to talk about. I could tell during that there was a lot of love for the Arkhamverse in there. I'm still angry. This is the direction of the Arkhamverse. This is not the game I wanted. And Kevin, our buddy Kevin, wisely asked me last night, would I still be so angry if this was not the Arkham developers? No, I would not be this angry. But as a DC fan, seeing that they're excited about their art, seeing they're excited about their game coming out, I am interested. It is DC. I know I will play it. I know I like the formula because I enjoyed Avengers so much, but I did not like traversal during the alpha. I did not enjoy the alpha's experience. So I'm really curious to know how this game hits me upon its full release, when all my buddies are playing it, when we're in a crew, that kind of thing. I plan to main Deadshot. There is a $100 version for a 3-day early access that launches on January 29th, I believe. IGN, GameSpot, they have codes for the game. We have not gotten codes. We may not get codes. So we always tell you guys if we do. But like when I bring that up because as a smaller content creator, those codes have not gone out, which to me could be a red flag. It could also be the very convenient, logical sometimes excuse: we need the live servers, or we need the 1.0 servers to go live. So it could be that IGN's reviewing the 9.9 or 0.99 build or something like that, right? So I'm very curious to know how that goes. I do like the roadmap that they showed. It looks good. With Joker and Elseworld Joker, because Arkham versus Joker is dead. Very curious to see how that's received, how they incorporate that. Again, that to me damages the Arkhamverse, but I'm curious. They're supporting it with a good roadmap. They've got Twitch drops lined up. All intents and purposes, this looks like it's going to launch far better than Avengers did, and I think that's a fair comparison. But I am very curious to know how it goes. I will be along for the ride because my Avengers community, the leakers, the players, the gamers, the streamers, they're all in on this one. So I'm along for the ride here. And I was vocal about my disdain for the alpha. I'll be vocal about my love or disdain for the game. And one thing I always do is get locked in on something, Logan. So I'm either gonna get real locked in and hate it, or real locked in and love it.
Yeah. Is Gotham Knights part of the Arkhamverse?
It is not. No, it is its own story. It is its
Okay.
own story. And interestingly, years and years ago, Rocksteady was making Gotham Knights, and WB Montreal was making what is now Suicide Squad. That is old. So it could be that what we have now is nothing like those things, right?
Yeah.
But their projects did flip at one point in their tenure.
Does it feel like Rocksteady had a real hard on for the traversal and decided that they were going to have that in whatever game they made? And now it started with Gotham Knights, and they're like, we're going to have them hopping around through the city. It's going to be cool. We'll have, Barbara swinging from a Batwing. We're going to have Nightwing. No, not Nightwing.
Red Hood, Robin, Nightwing.
Red Hood, Jason. We're going to have him hopping on like little mystical like jumps and stuff. And I'm like,
also stupid.
This also just feels a lot like these were the traversal ideas that they had.
Mm-hmm.
And they wanted to throw them into an Arkham game, or they wanted to throw them into a Batman game. And they were like, all right. And then they handed a half-made thing to Montreal. And Montreal's like, I guess we got to keep this in because it's a big part of the game. And they're like, all right, guys, we're fresh start. We know exactly what we want to do. 2.0 is going to be Suicide Squad this time. But now that we know what we want to do with the traversal, we're going to really nail it.
Mm-hmm.
And I think they're really going to nail it. And I really hate that they're focusing on that so much.
I'm curious. It's an interesting parallel to draw, and like that's a interview I would love to have. I don't think we're on the radar. I've been asking for an interview with the Rocksteady people for over a year now, and I just don't think that's going to happen.
Have you tried hard enough? I feel like you maybe haven't tried hard enough.
Man, Have
you told them how much of a fan you are?
I've tried everything. I reminded them I interviewed Gotham Knights staff, and whatnot, and voice actors and such. So, but it is what it is. The reason I bring that up is because the founders of Rocksteady, Sefton Hill, and the other gentleman whose name I forgot, left the studio.
Wow.
About a year or so ago, maybe a little longer now. Timelines are weird, but they left the studio. So the team making, and a lot of people left the studio. So the team making Suicide Squad is not the same Arkham team. But there is that talent. So I wonder.
Do you think that's because they wanted to continue making standalone projects that weren't service games?
It would be full conjecture, right? I've seen not a single statement from them on this particular topic. None. Outside looking in, absolutely that's what it looks like. But I've seen no evidence, and given that there's no evidence, it's hard for me to be like, yes, this is why.
I mean, as proper games journalists here, that is what our bread and butter is conjecture, right? Like that's how news is perpetuated. I'm looking forward to the Twitch drops for this. Personally.
Why is that?
Because I think the costumes look really good. I think the costumes look way better on the Twitch drops than they do for the digital deluxe edition with the throwback costumes that they've got in there. And to be perfectly honest, I miss Arkham Harley, and I miss Batman the animated series Harley, and I can live with the Suicide Squad Margot Robbie version in this, but it's I don't know. I'm gonna be Captain Boomerang, and not just because he has Captain in the name, but because I genuinely think that character is really funny, and I really like the Boomerang traversal more than the other ones, with maybe like King Shark as the exception. I can't handle Harley's traversal. It's so weird to me. It doesn't feel right.
It does not feel right. Especially as a Batman fan. I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah, I don't know what it is about it. It just doesn't click with me. And I hope it clicks with someone, because we need someone to be Harley.
Yeah. Yeah. And
yeah.
Our buddy Kev's like, I want to be King Shark. And I was like, who are you now? Like, don't understand it. I'm going to do Deadshot because it's the most basic, simplistic traversal. Up, down, shoot. All right.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the Twitch drops. If you guys are curious about what they are, they're very Twitch branding as far as like, and they look kind of cyberpunky, but that's up my alley. So of course I'm going to like it, but they're starting on the 30th on Twitch. They go for like, I think a week or two. No, I think they go for a week each. So like Harley's the first one. She's like from the 30th of January to the 7th of February. And then they'll move on to the next character. And you have to watch like an hour or so's worth of Twitch streaming on that. And then from like the 8th to the 16th, it'll be King Shark. And then from the 17th to the 25th, it'll be Deadshot. And then from the 26th up to March 4th, it'll be Captain Boomerang. So I got to wait a whole flipping month just to get the one skin that I am actually going, and I'll probably be done with the game by the time the skin comes out. And I hate that they're doing this, but I see that they're doing the long-term engagement. But I am kind of curious because the season passes persist. You don't have to buy them right away. And the first character that they're bringing out for Suicide Squad, which I didn't expect them to bring any more characters, was that Joker character. And the Joker character's traversal actually looks cool, but it should be for the Penguin. And I don't know why.
Yep.
It's so weird, dude.
I know.
But we're going to play it. So, you know, whatever.
I know.
All right.
All right, let's get to some listener questions here. I'm so Suicide Squad, man. Let me tell you. All right, let's. If we get codes for that one, I will tell everybody. Make sure you know. All right, Anubis316 writes in over on Twitter and asks us about Halo Season 2. I think that's a really relevant question because we are on the eve. I do like this trailer. It looks real good. Pablo Schreiber is out there talking about. Is it Pablo Schreiber? I don't know. He's talking about.
The man with the face.
Yeah, they kind of recognize that season 1 was a misfire. I hope season 2 delivers, man. But you get one episode from me to show that you're on the right trajectory, and then I'm out.
I genuinely thought that this was a typo from Anubis, and I thought that he was talking about the next update for Halo and not season 2 of the show. So I was like, buddy, they've been past season 2. I don't know where you've been, but I know.
Halo Infinite's in a good place. It's in a good place. I'm enjoying it.
Well, we didn't even get a chance to talk about the fact that the next update's coming on the 30th for the first operation, since they're moving away from seasons and stuff. But there's a new illusion map that's come in. There's I think there's new weapons. Is there new weapons?
I'm trying to remember.
There's new Forge stuff.
There's new Forge for the Covenant. I don't remember if there's new weapons or not, but the details don't actually matter. I will tell any lapsed Halo fan, go back, check it out. Check it out. It's genuinely in a great place. We found a great mode, by the way, with lots of vehicles. Were you with us when we just did like 2 hours straight and just had a blast?
No, I was doing something else. I don't think
we had a ball. It was just a good time. So like it was fun. Lots of vehicles and good modes. We had a good time. Squad battle. It's like a great big team, but not big team. You know how big team can sometimes just devolve and not be fun. It's a nice in between. So it was good times.
Your mom's a squad battle.
Thank you. Chipotle Bear says, he writes in over on Threads. Shout out to Chipotle Bear, by the way. He says, now that Cliffy B is checked off the list, who are your guys' top 4 dream developer gets for an XEP interview? I have some answers because I think about this a lot. Do you have some in your mind?
I mean, last time we got this kind of a question, I think it was Chris Metzen was like the one that I would like to dive into and stuff. I'd love to talk to the Avowed folks to kind of pick their mind about things and like systems that feel archaic to me and how they justify those in games and stuff like that. I would love to talk to them about that. Love to talk to the Arkham team to be like, guys, was traversal just a real big dream for you?
Yeah.
But outside of that, I don't know. Who are you thinking? I mean, Sarah Bond, Phil Spencer, like.
So there are 2 names right now that were on my top 3. Cliff Bleszinski was in my top 3. Like really and truly, he just was. And that was an eclectic, strange, fun interview for a lot of reasons. And doing the deep dive, learning his life was painful and interesting. But it was really neat because Gears of War is so close to my heart for a lot of reasons, good and bad. I consistently say Sarah Bond because I think it's important to give future developers, particularly young women and women of color, a voice and see like, no, this is now the ceiling that you can rise to. And I want to know about Sarah's journey, how she handles those statements that I just made. Like, is that a role you're willing to take on? Is that something you want? Because that's a lot of pressure, and that we just throw that on her, and she might just be a great person trying to make games. And there are a lot of stereotypical questions that I'm sure she gets asked. So I really want to ask about her experiences there. I did submit a request, and Xbox responded as a potential answer down the line, for Carrie Patel, the narrative director for Avowed, or studio director. I think she's the narrative director. I want to talk to because she is a published author. I ordered her book. It's a fiction book for young adults, I believe, and I'm a teacher. And so to give both of them a chance for my students to see and use that in my classroom, I'm very selfishly want to do. I really want to have those conversations, like asking Cliff about certain things were actually student questions. They were interested to know about Unreal Engine and his experiences. And so I find myself now walking a line where I want to talk to my heroes, but I want to talk to hopefully the future gamers, the future us's that are hosting podcasts. I want to talk to their heroes.
Yeah.
So I do want to talk to Sefton Hill. Why'd you leave Rocksteady? Why didn't Arkham 4 happen, or Arkham 5 technically? Like what was the deal? But really, Carrie Patel, Sarah Bond, the people behind Halo, which it seems to be very hard to get to, right? People behind some of these bigger Xbox franchises, those are always, of course, going to be dream gets. And my goal with XEP is for us to be worthy of being on that radar, being in consideration for those interviews when they launch a new game. That's
Yeah.
something I would love for XEP to happen. And that happens when people engage with our content, right? That's an accidental self plug, but the reality is I want to be worthy of that, so that it's not the same voices. I see a lot of people that very much don't ask the right questions when they interview, or they haven't done their research, and I'm a little embarrassed for them because it's the same names of people that
Yeah.
talk to some of these developers. I'm like, this person is not a good interviewer. I don't feel they did the research to ask the right questions. And I want to be among the names of people that are considered for those interviews. So.
Yeah. Yeah. It's always rough when you're trying to be in the perspectives, knowing that you can do a good job and seeing others get the opportunity that you would like to have and not capitalize on that opportunity. Which kind of brings me to back to one of your people that we both mentioned, which was Sarah Bond. Shout out to Charlie Hudson, or Hodson, I think it's Hodson, over at Xbox UK.
Hudson. Yeah, I love
Hudson.
Charlie.
Charlie was doing, I don't know if she's done a season 3, but she was doing the Women of Xbox podcast. And on the 8th episode, it was a couple years ago. I think it was the 8th one. She actually interviewed Sarah Bond, and it was a fantastic episode. Great interviewer. I really loved her conversation. She knows how to instantly build rapport with people, which really, like, just one, speaks to her personality, but two, really enriches the content that's for that podcast. But a really good kind of dive into a conversation with Sarah Bond, if that's something that people resonated with when you were talking about it. I know that you would definitely have other questions that you would ask her about, but that's out there if folks are ever interested in hearing what Sarah Bond has to say about her life and such.
Absolutely. Side note, Charlie helped me pick out joggers for my wife when I met her at E3 in 2019.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, just a neat little thing. Nice woman.
That's out there.
Yeah. Let's see. Matt Kennedy writes in, have either of you played the Pillars of Eternity games? They're fantastic, and Avowed takes place in the same shared world. Wondering if you haven't played them, would either of you look into trying them before playing Avowed? I have not played the Pillars of Eternity games. I have looked into playing them, and I keep waiting for the moment to strike, because I see them, I see the quality that they exude, but I haven't been caught by the bug.
Yeah, not my type of game. Honestly, like, I appreciate the Pillars of Eternity is out there. Avowed being in that world is going to pull me in a lot more. I know I usually like to go into games before like, types of games like that before that I jump into something, especially if it's from the same studio. With the way Piles of Eternity is designed,
Pillars.
or Pillars. What did I say?
Pals, like Palworld.
Pals.
Mhm.
I don't even know
I'm
why.
gonna enact some legislation real quick.
Good. Yeah, I haven't tried the Pillars of Eternity. As I understand it, they're a different approach than the standard kind of Avowed gameplay that we've seen. I'm going to be a lot more interested in Avowed because of the type of game that it is, not because necessarily that it's Pillars of Eternity, but I appreciate that it's there. And that it does have a long legacy of lore to kind of pull from, to be able to add into that. And it, who knows, might spark a flame that I didn't expect.
Yep, agreed. I mean, we talk about it regularly. All my games of the year and all the games that I've been into lately have not been in my standard wheelhouse.
Yeah.
Diablo, Starfield, and such.
Who are you anymore?
It's crazy. I'm growing and learning, it seems. I'm excited. I need to check out Diablo's new season. I mean, my character, but I didn't really do much with it. So
It's okay.
Yeah.
I don't really like the construct aspect. I think I liked the vampire stuff better.
I don't like that it's mechanical. Like, I want demons and monsters, not mechanical. So I'm an aesthetics person. So
Fair.
all right, man. I think that's pretty much where we want to leave off. Muffinmon, I feel like we answered the majority of your questions in our previous conversation. Oh, should we expect Avowed or Indiana Jones to be digital only? Yes, you should.
No.
Avowed, absolutely. 100%.
No.
100%. Let's make a bet.
All right.
I don't know betting? I don't know. Like, what's a good bet for us? $10 $10 Xbox currency?
Okay.
All right. So my bet, and if you accept it, is that Avowed will be digital only. I do not think it'll have a physical. I'll bet you $10 on that. You good for that?
Yeah, I'm good for that.
Okay.
I hate betting. I hate gambling in general.
Avowed will be out at the end of the year. Let's do $10 towards a extra life of our choice at the time to support a creator.
Oh, I like that better.
So let's do that. Okay. I'm going to put this in our notes at the very bottom. Luke bets $10 extra life that Avowed is all digital. I don't think Indiana Jones will be all digital, but Avowed, absolutely.
Wild. Okay. I think that's nuts.
They're leaving discs behind, man. All right. Captain Logan, what you got going on with the old?
Oh man, season 11's great. The season 11's revamped how voyages work in Sea of Thieves. They've increased the level cap and added a prestige system to Sea of Thieves. So I've been playing more Sea of Thieves this week than I have probably in the last month, and it's been a lot of fun. It's been doing really, really well. But I mean, that's it for that. So community episode this weekend for Keelhauled community. So gold holders, if you're a Patreon, you're invited to that. Outside of that, just that's it, man. Just Sea of Thieves on socials and stuff lately. I put out a tweet last night that was asking people how people feel about the $70 price hike, and now that we've kind of been living with it for a few years, I'm kind of curious to hear what people's thoughts are. Like, do you like the $70 price tag, or have you accepted it at this point, or are you still railing against it? If you're at this point in the video, put it in the comments. What do you think of $70? Good, bad, don't care?
It's a good question. That's good. For on the XEP side, our version of Gold Hoarders, our community episode, the Xbox wrap up, is recording tomorrow for our patrons. Any of our patrons can jump in. That's going to be a blast. Looking forward to interviewing Steven Totillo. I think he's worthy of a lot of good questions about the industry and coverage of the industry. Between journalists and content creators, how that goes about. And still working on some interviews for you guys. We'll be playing Suicide Squad. We got a community reviewer. Clint Coombs is reviewing Tekken 8 for us. Looking forward to seeing his coverage of that. I'll just ask anybody, please consider supporting XCP in however way you can. So that's it for us, man. Have a great rest of your week. Take care.